What's up everyone, Devin Derito here. So I'm back with another video. So in this video, I'll just be looking at Git and we are at the task session. So the first task is to create and set up your Git and GitHub account. So the first thing you need to do is create an account on GitHub if you don't have one already. So you have to make sure, sign up there for free. Then that's the step 0. Then step 1, you create a personal access token on GitHub. So this is actually pretty important, and this step is actually pretty vital because this is what will enable you to be able to the sandbox to communicate with the GitHub account. So first thing you need to do to create a personal token is to verify your email address. If it hasn't been verified, then in the second step is in the upper corner of any page, click on the profile photo, or click on the profile photo, and then select your settings. At settings, you select developer. On the left sidebar, you click develop options. Then in the left sidebar, you click personal access tokens. Then click generate a new token. Then give your token a descriptive name. So in this case, you're giving it my bash script. Then you give your token an expiration. Select the expiration drop-down menu. Then click a default or use the calendar picker. So for me, I pick 7 days, just the way they explained it. Then select the scopes or permissions you like to grant this token. To use your token to access Git repositories from the command line, you select repo. Remember that. Then at the very down there, you create generate token. So I selected repo. So make sure the repo is a tick. Then you hit on generate token, and then you go and copy paste that token. Like, let me just show you, because this is actually a very important thing. So you could see from the screen that even in the description, there's this place where you're supposed to place that token, but I will come down and explain to why the token is pretty significant. But as I mentioned earlier, the token is what you're going to use to link to connect your Git, the directory that you're working on, and connecting it to the remote from Git using the Sandbox web terminal. So you update your profile on the internet. So that's just something that you need to do, so I can be able to have communication between the directory and the GitHub repository remotely. So then you create your first repository. So go to your GitHub website, then you create a repository. You click on the plus, create a repository. Repository is like a directory, but when it's in the GitHub remote, it's a repository. So you name it as ALX hyphen pre_course. Then the description is that I'm now a student in ALX. This is my first repository as a full stack engineer. You list it as a public repo, and make sure not to take the README and .ignore or license. So you leave them not checked. So then you say create repo. Then you open the sandbox as usual. Get the sandbox and open the web terminal, and that's how you do it. So you make sure you open your web terminals. But when you're in the web terminal, so one thing you have to do is, you see that public access token that you made, it's gonna come to use here, as you can see on the screen. It's very important that you copy paste it and you put it between the HTTP colon, those forward slashes. You put that public token at github.com. Then your username, your GitHub username, you make sure you put it there. Then the command that you're going to use is git clone, and you're going to fix it there. There you're seeing it on the screen, so that you're able to communicate between what you're doing in the web terminal to your remote repository, so able to commit changes. But we'll get to that. So the command for cloning it is git clone, so that you can be able to have like a separate, like another copy of what was in the remote repository that you created about a while ago. Then make sure you replace your personal token with put the personal token, that one that you made early in the video. Then you put your username where it's supposed to be, and when you hit clone, that's when you're able to get like the repository from the remote, from GitHub, the account, now to Git, and you're using it through Git through the web terminal. Then after you've done that, you create a README and push the modifications. So you know the drill, you cd to the LA, the hyphen pre underscore course. After you do that, you'll make sure to use the commands that you have been using. The way that I saw that they represented it from their side, according to the description, you are supposed to echo, then in quote, my first readme, then you read that output inside a readme.markdown file, the readme.md. So when you do a cat readme.md, you're able to see that readme file is not empty. So you're going to see that that readme file contains the sentence my first readme. So for you to be able to communicate through your GitHub account from Git, the application in the web terminal, you have to configure it so that you can have your email address that you use to register your GitHub account and your username. So the username is the username that is on your GitHub account. So don't confuse name and username. Username is what appears below the name, so you put it there. And when you do that, there are a couple of commands in Git. So there's git add dot. When you see git add dot, that means git add all. So when you do a git add all, you'll add everything that you want to put forward, and you want to make sure that everything that you want to commit. So after you've done that, in GitHub, everything that you do, you have to track it with a text. So you use git commit -m. -m is message. So the message of that commit is my first commit in this case. When you do that, and it gets successful, which is going to be, you do a git push. When you do a git push, it's going to commit your changes, so commit/upload those changes to your remote repository inside GitHub, and that's what happens. So with that, you will have been able to commit your first file to your GitHub repo on GitHub. So when you see it, when you go to the browser and refresh it, you'll see that it has already changed. So that's the first thing. So the first thing is create a repo, the first thing that you have done, and now you're communicating with it using the web terminal through the command line. So a couple of commands that you need to know. So there's git add, which can do a git add, then the file name that you want to add, or if you do, you can also git add then dot, which adds everything. Git commit -m, that's a message. That's like you're putting like we're putting the things that you want to commit with a message that you can accompany the changes that you made. And one thing that is very important is you have to know the state in which the files are. So you run a git status, you're able to know the files that are tracked and untracked. And when you look closely, when you run a git status, you'll see not staged and staged. So when you see staged, that means that it has already been added. So it's ready to be committed. And when you hit git commit in the message, and then you do a git push, it's like you're uploading, but in this case, using GitHub, is committing the changes. You're committing the changes to that remote repository that is in GitHub. So you're able to communicate. And that is the reason why there's a point where you had to put your username, your user email and your username, so that the author, because that's what when you go to the GitHub repository online, you're able to try to see who made the commit changes, who made the commits, and if you're working on a group project, you're able to track who made what changes and when. So it's pretty important. So that was the first task to do that, and I'll come up with another video just to talk about other things that are unfolding. So yeah, man, happy coding.